Welcome to my kitchen, and this vlog is very special because I'm turning my house into a cafe for friends for the New Year's Eve. I'm very excited because, I love hosting friends and I love cooking for friends. Unfortunately, I didn't film the first chunk of my preparation because it was crazy. I spent the whole day cooking yesterday. I was on my feet the whole day and I was knackered. Friends are coming tomorrow on the 30th of December. It will be very cozy, laid back lunch. The main theme is that our food will be plant-based, or most of it. So without further ado, let's crack on with the prep for this morning. The first thing I'll be making is the vegan sourdough discard crackers because I have so much discard. We invited a small group of friends to keep it laid back. I didn't want to go all out, so my plan was to cook one dish for starter, main and dessert. For any small snack bits, I would ask friends to bring along, like crisps and antipasti. Since it was only a few days after Christmas, I reckon everyone would get bored of Christmas type of meal. So my lunch hoped to offer something different and bring a foodie spark back. Mostly for me, because I felt inspired already from just planning the menu after being in a kitchen slump all winter. At this point, it seemed natural to come up with a plant-based Asian and Thai fusion food, something party appropriate, can prep in advance and also use up last bits and bobs from Christmas to avoid food waste and buy more ingredients I don't necessarily need. Since starting making my own sourdough, I'm always searching for ways to use up the discard that keeps growing over time. The first recipe I tried used butter and it was utterly delicious. That I also baked it for our extended family for Christmas Eve. The spread needs to be plant-based, so this batch used olive oil using the recipe from the Pantry Mama. It's so simple to make and there's room to explore different flavors and toppings. Today, I added dry herbs and everything bagel seasoning on half of the batch and black pepper on another. The crackers were perfect for any dips friend will bring to snack while the actual starter was cooking up. My go-to party starter is Thai curry puffs, but this time I wanted to try one food that I hadn't done before myself, but they're one of my favorites growing up: steamed buns. Who wouldn't like soft, pillowy, steamed bun with rich, sweet and savory fillings? Only if I successfully made them. As a self-proclaimed protein queen in my friend group, I plan to make sticky barbecue tempeh buns inspired by Emma Peterson's recipe. It was my first time making buns, and I confessed that my dough wrapping skills could be improved. I made each bun smaller than it should be. I rolled the dough too thin and didn't have enough of the filling. The buns ended up having thick doughy bottom and the top became slightly soggy. I tested out steaming and cooking from frozen a few times. They kind of worked, but not as good as I hoped for them to be. So in the meantime, the next thing that I'm going to do that requires hours of time is focaccia, the sourdough focaccia dough that I made yesterday as well. She's been in the fridge for overnight, probably more than 12 hours already by the time that I took her out now. So then we're gonna transfer her into the tray to continue proofing. So this is what I'm gonna do while the crackers are baking in the oven, and then I'll be hands off for a few hours. On hindsight, making sourdough focaccia was a big leap of faith. I've only started baking sourdough last month and my starter isn't very mature yet. When I changed the recipe, something would turn out not so well. We usually finish with one loaf of bread in 2 weeks. It's a good pace to only bake twice a week, but my bread making learning curve has been a slow burn. For tomorrow's main, sandwich sounded perfect for lunch and doesn't require a lot of dining etiquette. Focaccia is easier to bake and makes perfect sandwich bread to load up the filling. I was toying with the idea of turning pad thai into a sandwich form and inspired by the thought of it. Think tanginess from tamarind, balanced out with sweetness, nuttiness from peanuts and overall soft, chewy, crunchy texture, the perfect combo that everyone loves when they're first introduced to Thai food. The tamarind glaze used key components of pad thai like fried shallots, tamarind paste, tomato puree. I used coconut sugar as opposed to a block of palm sugar, so not so much caramelization. I didn't have vegan fish sauce, so I used soy sauce instead. the flavors were close enough, which I was very pleased. And then on top of the focaccia, so I add a bit of the garlic oil and some of the caramelized shallots on top, hoping that that kind of add to the overall flavors of the sandwich. One thing that I'm not quite figure out yet is, what would be other kind of crunchy elements and the slaw or vegetables that would go inside the sandwich. I have the red cabbage left from Christmas meal, and this will be the main challenge to use it up. So definitely going to be something with red cabbage, and I'm trying to figure out what would be the flavors that accompany the kind of very bold, tangy, sweet glaze of the tofu. And I think I'm gonna test that out for lunch, just doing like a small amount. I imagine it needs something like a bit more nutty, a bit more on the kind of deeper flavor, but not too bold, so then that doesn't compete with the boldness of the tamarind sauce. I think it just needs something to kind of round it up, and obviously the crunchiness of the cabbage and then the carrots would probably go well. And I have sriracha sauce as well that people can add into their sandwich. That should round everything up in one sandwich, not too much, not too little. And for dessert, you shall wait and see what I'm making. But right now I think it's time to test out my theory of the flavor of the slaw and, the tofu glaze sauce. So what I've got here are the red cabbage, and then mix it with the almond butter kind of sauce. It's kind of like the same idea as, satay sauce, but I can't use peanuts. Yuan is allergic to peanuts. I use tempeh and drizzle with the tamarind sauce just to kind of doing like a mock up. Tomorrow it will be tofu, but I feel like having tempeh right now. I'm gonna try put everything in one bite and then see if that works. It could work. Maybe less of the lemon juice to kind of let the tamarind sauce to shine through, but the nuttiness is there and I think it works. I'm quite happy, and now I can have my lunch. I'm honestly very tired, but I decided that just to save myself the hassle and have minimal prep and cooking as much as possible tomorrow morning, so I'm gonna make the cake. I guess you can probably tell by now that what sort of cake I'm making. The reason I made this pear and ginger cake, which isn't vegan, was that I promised to bake it for Christmas, but I didn't manage to do it. It was a request from Yuan and we already had all the ingredients, so I kinda owe him this cake. And it was a perfect cake for cold winter months. There are some things that Justine from Justine Snacks said in her video about this recipe. It resonated with me, and it was also the reason why I chose to follow her recipe for this cake. She said, "What if you rarely use fresh ginger in baking?" And I think that's true. If my ginger cake isn't gingery, like punch in your face, I don't want it. I was glad I found Justine's recipe. It was a low effort one, and after a full day of cooking, I wouldn't want to do anything more complicated than mix the ingredients in one bowl and then shove it in the oven. This cake would keep well and also easy to take away in case friends want to take some home. And that was my last prep of the night. So hot. Yesterday, I just came back from the gym. I was not focused at all during my session because it's now confirmed that there will be 4 guests coming. And I really fear that the focaccia is not enough to cater for 5 to 6 people, like you and I included. I don't know if this is the same for you, but I'm used to cooking for 2 people and 2 people who don't eat a lot. I could say that. And whenever I host people, I'm always afraid that the food won't be enough, because it's not nice for the guests to come and feel hungry or left hungry. And I'm just thinking all the things that I could do last minute to make sure that the guests are well catered for and also full and enjoy their time. Anyway, what I have to do before I get up, I know that this is gross, but I'm gonna prep the tofu, frying, and just basically soak up all of the frying smell before I, wash up and get ready, and I can wash my hair once I'm clean, dressed up, and I can just basically assemble the sandwiches. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do and the clock's ticking, so, I better get going. This tofu is definitely off. I guess it's just like one of the chances, but it's definitely off. One thing that came up to me overnight was that the almond butter tasted too strong for the cabbage slaw, so I changed my mind last minute and made tahini dressing instead. I mixed tahini with some sesame oil, soy sauce, maple syrup, lemon juice, garlic and chili flakes. The flavors were much more balanced and not overpowering the tamarind sauce, and it went well with the rest of the sandwich. And by that point, I was quite confident and in some way relieved that the sandwich would turn out well. The last minute component was the spring onion pesto, as I felt like the sandwich needed some spread on one side while the other soaked up the pad thai sauce. And then I toasted some walnuts and some seeds just to go inside for some extra crunch. If you look at my bread, I was disappointed by the focaccia. In a way, I anticipated something to go wrong with the bulk fermentation, and it was definitely underproof. It didn't rise the way that I hoped it would, and then the inside was quite dense and gummy. But anyway, the show must go on. It wasn't the perfect bread, and, extending this to the tempeh bun, it wasn't the perfect bun, but it was only me who probably being too hard on myself as well in this regard. But it's safe to say that this Pad Thai-inspired sandwich was delicious. Also because I have a whole jar of tamarind paste to use before it gets moldy, so the sauce will definitely become one of my rotations in many ways and forms. Hosting friends for a meal gave me opportunity to be creative with cooking and make dishes that I didn't bother trying, and to get feedback from others. I actually hope to host friends more and even do different themes. Think cafes or ice cream bar. I don't know, the options are endless. That's one of this year's goals, because having good times over a meal is the best way to bond with others. And that was everything I cooked for friends to celebrate the new year. Thanks so much for joining in the kitchen in these 2 days, and I hope you enjoy watching. Let me know if you have any ideas for my next hosting theme. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Bye!